Hello and welcome into the Wednesday edition of the PHLY Eagles podcast. A lot to get into today. Wonder Boy Sean McVay versus the Vic Fangio defense. We got a defensive rookie of the year showdown. Lots to get into today. And of course, Zach Berman's going to join the show in a little while from the NovaCare Center next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Happy Wednesday to all out there. Welcome into the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by our friends at Bet365. You can find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365, and make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for our custom PHLY odds boosts every weekend. Speaking of that, Rich, after the show today, I got to get into the Bet365 lab and cook up a winning parlay this weekend. On this Wednesday, does anything feel like a certainty for you this weekend? A Jalen Hurts touchdown, Saquon getting in the end zone, A.J. Brown yards, anything you're feeling on this Wednesday?
You don't want my advice. I'm telling you, I've been doing those parlays for the Sixers show. I hope nobody's following because we're just losing money left and right.
It's been some tough sledding out there for gamblers.
You're good at it though, so
I try to be. It's hard. The worst as a bettor is when you know the right play and don't play it. Like, it's just that's what eats you up all week. Is
why would that be the case? You're getting cold feet?
You just overthink it. You get cold feet. Yeah, like. Sometimes you try to line read. I forget what the game was last weekend. Oh, it was Steelers-Ravens. And I was sitting on Friday doing the show with Anthony, and I was like, the underdog in this matchup is 18-2-1 in the last 20 games. Tomlin and Harbaugh have been playing for 15 years, and the point differential is like 10 points in all the games. It's always a 1 or 2 point game. And I was like, the Steelers are the play this weekend. Just go with the underdog. Don't overthink this. And what do? I played the Ravens. So like stuff like that eats you alive. But we have a lot to get into today. Zach Berman is going to join the show after the Nick Sirianni press conference from the NovaCare Center. We may or may not hear from Vinny Curry, who is currently in a doctor's appointment. So we'll see if Vinny is able to wiggle out of there in time.
Vinny live streaming a doctor's appointment. I mean, he set the bar pretty high, but that would be some great stuff right there.
Yeah. But real quick, as we always do, just kind of recapping last Thursday. We haven't been on a microphone together since the finale of that game. Pretty damn cool. The Eagles really are, 6 in a row. They're humming on all cylinders, Rich. There's a lot to like about this team. I think the only minor, quip is some people have is the passing game isn't really, knocking your socks off. But they're winning football games. And unlike last year where they were winning football games and you kind of felt bad about it, they're winning football games now and you feel good about it because of the defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And I think we're going to get into this because Zach and Bo yesterday, Jamie, they talked about what they got wrong from the preseason, from the offseason, just things that have changed now that they have watched. What has it been? 10 games so far. Or 11 games? What are they, 9-2 or 8-2?
8-2.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Whatever. One of those two. two losses. They all blend together. The Eagles are winning a bunch of games right now. But one of the things I would not have said before the year started is that the passing game is mediocre.
Sure.
And they look great, right? Because the other three facets, right, if you split the two main phases of the game, I know there's special teams as well, but if you split the two main phases, offense, defense, split those into two, run defense, run offense, pass defense. If you would have told me the pass offense was the worst of the four.
I know.
And the thing that I have the most questions about at this point of the year, I would have said that this team is a disaster, probably. Yeah. And they are far from a disaster. They have been terrific. And I think that's what gives me hope, right? Because I think a lot of times, like, you find yourself talking yourself into a team, right? You're
Absolutely.
like, if only this, and this go right, they can win 5 or 6 games down the stretch. I mean, I feel like that's what we were doing in December, right?
Definitely.
Last year.
Uh-huh.
Last year, we were like, if they just start playing good football and don't look like a disorganized mess, all of those things. No, this actually seems realistic, right? If Jalen Hurts, I know Fran in his film breakdown at all PHLY showed a little bit of optimism for the passing game, thinks it might not be quite too far off from clicking. That seems like a very realistic thing just because the players are awesome and we have seen in the past that this passing game can click. So I'm feeling pretty good about these guys right now.
Yeah, and we are going to get into the things that we got wrong because maybe we'll get into the whole science and technology debate that Zach and Bo had yesterday as well. We probably won't, but we will get into what we got wrong. But, Rich, I want to start with the 2 things that are just absolutely flooring me about this season are Saquon Barkley and Quinyon Mitchell. And you just talked about it. The pass defense, if you had told me, 3 months ago that the pass defense was going to be supreme and you were going to have a defensive rookie of the year candidate and a guy that was just shutting down not only receivers, but some of the best receivers in the NFL, I would have been thrilled. Saquon Barkley, I knew was going to be good. I knew that great player was in him. But Quinyon Mitchell, like any draft pick, is a little bit of a hope and a prayer. Those are the 2 things that I cannot get over. And I bring it up to say, hat tip to Howie Roseman, because I think I saw Zach tweeting earlier today, or maybe it was John Marks actually, the difference in Saquon's contract compared to a very comparable Gabe Davis contract and the impact they're having on their teams.
There's a bunch of those out there. I think there's Darnell Mooney, who's a little bit better than Gabe Davis. I think he's having a decent year for Atlanta. Gabe Davis, that's a rough one.
Yeah, that's rough. And they were it was like 24 and 26 million guaranteed. So very comparable. And you look at the impact, Saquon Barkley has changed this team. But I kind of assumed that was going to happen with this offensive line. I expected that. Quinyon Mitchell is the one that I can't believe how good he is. And this week is huge. There's a stat out there via PFF. The only NFL quarterback with 375 plus coverage snaps and 0 passing touchdowns allowed is Quinyon Mitchell. You've seen the list of guys he's gone up against. These are no scrubs. And he's holding them all.
TLC.
Yeah. Don't go chasing waterfalls, Rich. Mm-hmm. It's not even like he's playing scrubs and keeping them in check. He's not even like he's playing great wide receivers and, they're getting 55, 65, 70 yards, no touchdowns type of thing. He's putting these guys in prison and they're getting 35 yards and less. And he's going up against Hall of Fame type of guys. Quinyon Mitchell just absolutely has me in awe of this season.
Who do you think he's going to cover this week? Because these guys have 2 awesome receivers. They're such a weird team because they're very average. But when I look at the quarterback and those 2 receivers, they scare you. Right?
Yeah,
they're good players. I mean, Puka Nacua, who I have in fantasy, he gets hurt all the time. And he basically played a quarter in the first game of the year in Detroit. And then he was out for a couple months. It was just a disaster. But, I mean, that dude, when he is healthy and good, he is horrifying. You throw him a little crossing route, he's just going to run over people. It's kind of one of the most unique receivers I have seen. I'm looking at this now. He's gone over 98 yards in 3 of his last 4 games since returning. And Jamie, the only game that he didn't go over 98 yards in is when he punched a guy and got kicked out of the game. So
good point.
Quinyon Mitchell is really good at, talking a little smack, getting into the opponent's head. So maybe try and get him to punch you, Quinyon, and then you might have an easier day the rest of the way.
I think that's a good strategy to implement right away. I kind of knew Quinyon was that dude when he was going toe-to-toe with Mike Evans in the Tampa Bay game and being like...
That was a good sign, right? And that was... I think obviously everybody was feeling pretty down about the Eagles at that point, right?
Baker Mayfield's gutting you,
Right, and Vic Fangio, does this guy actually know what he's doing? Wow, has that flipped? But that was a rough game, right? They were completing every single short pass. But then the mic'd up comes out later that week, and he is talking smack to Mike Evans. And you look at it like Mike Evans did not have a huge game against him that week either. That was probably a good sign moving forward that okay, right now the overall pass defense is a disaster, but there's something that they can work with here. And it's his kid.
It's not a coincidence. Things turned the corner when Cooper DeJean entered the starting lineup. So, that is great, and it'll lead us right into the conversation. I was watching the end of the show yesterday, and great job by Zach and Bo with the things they got wrong. And I immediately thought of myself because Bo polled the staff here before the season and said, what's your mid-season prediction? And I got two. One I think is worse than the other. It's not a definite yet, but I think it's trending in the direction of me being very wrong. First, I thought they were going to need defensive end help. And if you had talked to me during the bye week, I would have been like, yep, they're going to be buyers at the deadline. They're going to go get a DN.
For the first month, they definitely needed defensive end help.
Yeah, and now Josh Sweat has stepped it up. Nolan Smith has stepped it up. I mean, Jalen Carter is probably making all of their lives easier. It's looking like it's a competent group of pass rushers, and I was probably wrong. And I think this defensive end group is fine. It's not great. It's not elite. But when you have that elite secondary play, you can get away with competency at the edge rusher position. And I think that's what they are. They're a competent group that didn't need to upgrade.
I agree with that. The defensive line has been much better over the past few weeks, but it's like we have been saying, this defense is unlike any Eagles defense of the past 15 years, where it's definitely being built back to front. And that is, obviously those two things work hand in hand, but really the coverage is just exceptional. I do want to point out, Mike has a great comment in the chat. Do you think Jamie does pre-show meetings to go over notices and points to cover every week and goes, I just want to talk about Quinyon Mitchell?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I didn't know you were going to do that. I thought we were going to talk about what
well,
we
it
got,
was the
what we
first
went
thing.
wrong. Yeah.
I did want to read that stat about the 375 coverage staff, so I am following our show script to a degree.
Fair enough.
But I will be honest, I love Quinyon Mitchell, and I don't care who knows it. And I want to talk about this kid and throw flowers at him every opportunity I get.
Well, this is a big week for you.
Well, this is the Defensive Rookie of the Year showdown. Jared Verse.
Jamie's going to be watching this game. Sorry.
I'm just going to be watching Quinyon and Jared Verse, and who's going to go win an award.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I imagine you watching this game and just rooting on Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata, whoever is blocking Jared Verse, and just not even caring,
his ass.
Just not even caring about the rest of the play.
I won't.
I could see, imagine the Eagles losing by 2 touchdowns this week, but Jared Verse having a quiet game, and you start the post-game show with, look, the big point here is that Jared Verse got shut down.
Yeah.
I think you're completely happy. Everybody else, Vinny, everybody else is sad.
Yeah, I'm like, but Quinyon was great. I think
lost the battle but won the war.
Fran and Bo are starting to get a little creeped out that I might need a restraining order around Quinyon. But I love him, and it is. Look, it's a national game. It's Sunday Night Football. The 2 odds-on favorites to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year. And what do awards mean, right? Ultimately, not much. It's more cool for Quinyon and Eagles fans. But Jared Verse is the favorite. Quinyon Mitchell is the second favorite. The thing that's probably going to hold him back here, and Jared Verse is a tremendous player, he's not getting the turnovers. And if he can come up with one in this kind of head-to-head, Rookie of the Year battle on Sunday Night Football, you just saw what he did to Scary Terry McLaurin on Thursday Night Football in front of the nationwide audience. He had the man switch to the right side of the field, which is something he's never done. So Jared Verse versus Quinyon Mitchell is a great kind of, not that they're battling each other, but it's a great. Yeah,
they kind of are battling each other.
In my mind, they are. So I'm excited to see that one.
This is a one-on-one football game. And I would say something that goes hand in hand with your mea culpa that you just offered is that what I got wrong is that I thought this team, to be a 2-loss team at this point of the year, the framing was going to have to be elite offense, competent defense.
Sure.
And I think, Jamie, we know, when you look at DVOA and other stats, it's very obvious that defense is the much more volatile side of the ball from year to year. Those things can flip. And I think we knew that, but the Eagles defense at the end of last year was so bad. So bad. It was ingrained in our head that, man, it's going to be hard to completely flip the script on this. But look, if you nail the coordinator hire, which they did, and you take 2 top 40 picks and nail both of those, things can turn pretty quickly, right? And look, there are other things that are probably less realistic and less, they're kind of more of a long shot. Specifically, the Zach Bond signing is crazy.
I mean,
that's never going to happen again, probably.
Never would have seen that coming to this level.
But look, they turned the defense around faster. And I guess to move off of that point too, and we can talk about Sirianni, I guess, a little bit later. I know ZB is going to be here pretty soon, is that to me, the CEO coach or whatever you want to call Nick, the 2 coordinators basically running their sides of the ball and having pretty close to complete autonomy, except when Nick says after the game that I called that stupid trick play or whatever it is. That has worked so far. And particularly with Vic Fangio. I am blown away by how good this defense is playing. I mean, I did the watch along for the Eagles Washington game. My Chinese food is still in the
I just threw it out
in the fridge.
I
Yeah.
offered it to you.
Yeah, no, I didn't want it after a week. But I was just blown away watching that game, watching the defense. Like, they just come to play every single week. And look, probably one of these weeks they're going to get lit up. That's the way modern football works.
I don't know.
They're not going to get lit up like crazy, though, is my
No,
point.
like this secondary, I don't think is. I mean, I guess
They
they're
show
capable.
up every week. If
they
you
do.
If you are going to light them up, you're going to have to earn it, is I guess my point. Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to make it easy on you. And that's awesome because it's just the complete opposite of what, I mean, they were like
James Bradbury can't hurt us anymore.
No, and guys running into each other in the secondary. I forget who that was. I think it was Avonte Maddox and Eli Ricks on the first possession against the Bucs in that playoff game last year. They just ran into each other.
No big deal. We'll make this easier for you.
It wasn't even a pick play. It was just in the middle of the field. They just trucked each other. They looked like two guys running into each other doing a jackass stunt, basically. Shouldn't curse. Sorry for everybody who said that.
Is Jackass a curse?
Well, I mean, I am citing
It's a movie.
And a long-running television franchise as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been
Used
amazing.
to love Jackass.
on defense. I still do.
They're not still doing it, are they?
I mean, I still watch like 3D.
They are?
They're pretty old. Wow. They're going to do a new movie, Julia?
I don't know if it's a new movie, but I saw something like that.
Wow.
Recently.
Okay.
You think Zach Berman was ever a Jackass fan?
Do you think he
That's
knows?
really funny. Picturing Zach like settling in, like, Emily, there's a new Jackass movie out or show out. Do you want to watch it? Oh, yeah, the things that'll never happen. But let's take a break here because Zach Berman's going to be joining us momentarily and tell you about some
Do you
of our
think Zach
friends.
knows what Jackass is?
It's a great question.
Yeah,
We'll
I
ask
don't
him
even
right
know.
away. But we'll tell you about some of our friends.
Jamie, I am here to tell you about our friends at Empire, who can help with all of your carpeting and flooring needs. You can use empiretoday.com/PHLY for $350 off new floors. And Jamie, with Empire Today, you can shop for a bunch of great things. Home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so there are copycats out there. But they cannot beat Empire Today's quality, service, speed, so they will advertise lower quality products that Empire simply will not carry. Empire's philosophy is to help find you what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. And Jamie, shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might talk to someone who was not focused on flooring just a couple hours ago. A guy could have been talking about plumbing or something else. Not at Empire, though. Flooring is all that they do. They live and breathe it, so you can be confident that you are getting honest and upfront advice. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details.
And Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell teaming up is basically the equivalent of Dr. Glatt teaming up with Dr. Morgenstern and the Morgenstern Center. Now Glatt Hair Restoration is under the direction of renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Ken Morgenstern. And it's the same peerless approach to care, same expert team, the same unmatched Glatt system with the state-of-the-art location and the same stellar results. Just look at Johnny Marks' beautiful head of hair, and you know that it works. Each member of the team brings 30-plus years of industry experience. Hair restoration is all they do. And bald is now optional, and Glatt Hair can help with all stages of hair loss with leading-edge treatments for prevention and restoration, including laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, topical and oral medication, PRP and stem cell restoration, hair restoration surgery, and each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation. I can't talk today to pinpoint the best course of treatment. Glatt Hair isn't just about restoration, it's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments can really do dramatically change lives. So change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional. If you want to improve how you look and feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started. All right, I believe we are going to head down to the NovaCare Center. And, of course, this is the PHLY Eagles podcast brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Julia is our man, the number one Jackass fan in the country with us.
Number one window fan in the country.
Yeah,
too.
big window guy, Zach Berman. Me and Zach had a lovely evening, a little date night this week. Me and him spent a Monday night at a very, very swanky affair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Yeah, it was business When you hear business casual, what do you expect? Or what do you think is like the bare minimum of like decency?
Truthfully, as somebody who has never really had a real job, I don't even know. Like, would it be no tie kind of the way to go about it?
So I had to take the girls to gymnastics, and hello, Zach. We'll get to you here momentarily. And my wife showed up, and she goes, we were going to a nice establishment in town, and she said, "Is that what you're wearing?" That like kind of condescending wife thing. And I was like, "Yeah, I thought this was fine. I just had a button-down shirt, some nice shoes and pants." She goes, "You should probably wear a jacket." And I was like, but I was leaving right from gymnastics. So she planted this seed in my head of like, oh no, because being underdressed is the worst feeling in the world.
Sure.
And I texted Zach and I was like, "Zach, are you wearing a jacket?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely. Brought a change of clothes." And I knew the answer before I sent it, but I just kind of wanted to. And it got in my head so much that I drove home. And then I got home. I consulted with some college buddies, and they were like, "Nah, you can go like, quarter zip or sweater." And I was like, now I'm all off. And I scrambled last second. I went with the quarter zip sweater.
That's fine. I mean,
and Zach showed me up with the jacket.
Here's the issue, Jamie. You say being underdressed is the worst. I think being overdressed is the worst.
You're not wrong. I'd rather be overdressed than underdressed. Zach Berman, would you rather be overdressed or underdressed?
Oh, definitely overdressed. I would much rather be overdressed, right?
There we go.
There it is.
You got me? Okay.
Yeah,
I would. I disagree with Rich. I would definitely rather be overdressed than underdressed. Underdressed, you feel like you don't belong there. Overdressed, you can rationalize it. You're like, I'm dressing for, the job that I want, right? That kind of thing, right? Not the job I have. But underdressed, if you show up, now there's a flip side to this.
Yeah.
There's, it's like a bell-shaped curve. If you're on a certain end of the curve, you can show up in anything and pull. Like if Jalen Hurts shows up to an event, he can wear anything he wants, right? Because it's like you set the agenda. But when you're on the other side of the curve, like the side of the curve I'm on, you can't be underdressed because then it's like who's
this
let
slob?
that guy in there? Exactly.
So the other part
I
of the
always
story,
on the side of being overdressed.
Zach, I think I may have told you, I rushed so much and I was so frazzled of should I wear a jacket or a shirt or a quarter? I threw on a quarter zip sweater, not realizing, I guess a moth had gotten to it this offseason. And there was not only a hole in the arm.
Not too much business casual.
Yeah, there was also a hole under my nipple. So I was kind of trying to hold my arm close to my chest all night so people didn't be like, "Who's this slob with the holes in his sweater?"
Were you shaking hands like this?
Yeah. But then it's why is he walking around that way?
Yeah, so
I didn't notice. So you pulled it. You pulled it off well. Jamie's good company, man. Jamie's a good hang. You can bring Jamie to any event.
I can blend
in well.
Yeah. So Zach, number one most pressing question today: were you ever a fan of Jackass?
No,
I didn't think so.
Jackass. I think I saw the movie. Was there a Jackass movie? I might have seen the movie. I never watched the show. I do recall. What's it? Johnny Knoxville?
Yeah.
Is that his name? Yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with the concept of it. I never watched it. No.
Did you ever get
I don't know
the
if that
itch?
comes as a surprise.
No, it's not a surprise, but we were talking about it, and it was a funny image of you settling down on the couch to unwind with some Jackass.
No, I don't get the itch in that regard. My wife jokes you know how some people have FOMO, right? She says I'm the first person she's met who doesn't experience FOMO, right? I'm not, I kind of have this is what I like to watch. This is what I like to read. This is what I like to do. I'm not easily swayed in that regard. So no, I don't.
Before we get to the football, then, what is Zach Berman currently watching on TV in his downtime?
Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. Yeah, I mean, if I'm being completely honest with you, this time of year, I consume a lot of football. When I'm working late at night, I'll have NBA League Pass on in the background. As far as like shows other than that, honestly, the last show I watched was the one with Emily and I watched the one on Netflix, which
Oh,
it's about the
Kristen
rabbi
Bell.
who the rabbi and the podcaster
Yeah.
who what's this? This shouldn't happen, or nobody wants this. I think
Nobody
something
wants
like
this,
that.
I think is
But
right.
that was a good. Nobody wants this. Yeah, that was a good show. We watched that, but I haven't. Oh, and then you know what I did watch? So I take that back. The last show I watched was the Aaron Hernandez thing on FX. You know the miniseries. I watched that. Bo laughed when I told him I was watching it. I was like, of course I'm going to watch the Aaron Hernandez thing on FX.
And what's the review?
There's some pretty wild clips I've seen from that.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch it for the football clips, but you know what? They do a decent job of character development in there. So you do kind of get a sense of the characters.
Yeah, fair enough.
So Zach, I guess the big news, and we'll get your Sirianni takeaways here. Bryce Huff undergoing a procedure today on the wrist. What's the ZB breakdown or understanding of that situation going forward?
Yeah, that is the big news today. He's undergoing procedure on his left wrist tomorrow. He'll be out for we don't know exactly how long, but he is going to miss time. And really, the impetus for this is it's clearly been affecting him. You can see that in his playing time. You can see that in his production. And he spent the last 2 games with a hard cast on his left wrist. And so there was that determination that, all right, let's try to fix this. Let's get him right for later in the season. So the hope is that he's back later in the year, much healthier. That's the understanding I have here. So what does this mean for the Eagles? Well, Bryce Huff hasn't been taking a significant amount of snaps during the past 4 to 5 weeks, but he is playing. And so I think that instead of this being distributed more among Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham, and obviously Josh Sweat at the top of the depth chart, you're going to see more Jalyx Hunt. And I think that's kind of the headline here when you spin it forward is here's their 3rd round pick, who from what I understand has been playing real well behind the scenes. You saw in the Dallas game, he played 25 snaps, did not get on the field against Washington, but I would expect to see more of Jalyx Hunt going forward. Not to say that he's going to play the Bryce Huff allotment of snaps, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's playing 15 to 20% of the snaps.
Zach, I was just about to ask about Jalyx Hunt, and I think when he got drafted, we all thought, okay, maybe, but a bit of a project, right? If he's going to make an impact, it's probably not going to be right away. Would you say, and you mentioned kind of the behind the scenes and what the Eagles are probably seeing from him in practice and meetings and things like that. Have they been surprised at how quickly he's picked this stuff up?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I would frame it as surprise, but maybe that is accurate. I do know they've been impressed. I do know that going into the year, there was a question of, all right, here's someone who played safety at Cornell, who played defense, who played like outside linebacker at defensive end at small school in Texas, right? And then in training camp, he looked like he belonged. Athletically, it was always there. And by the way, it was Houston Baptist, the small school in Texas, Houston Christian, Houston Baptist. So he looked like he belonged. He had legitimate pass rush moves, and I think I think he brings some juice out there. I was impressed with him in camp. I know in scout team reps, I've spoken to guys who say, "Man, Jalyx Hunt can really play." I recall speaking to Jordan Mailata going into the Cleveland game when I was talking about Myles Garrett, and he said Jalyx Hunt's playing like Myles Garrett in practice. Now, that's not like a 1-for-1 comparison, but the point is this is a guy that I thought was going to have more of a redshirt type year in defense, and you're seeing him play much more, or you'll see him play a bigger role in defense than I anticipated.
How excited is Zach Berman to watch the coaching battle of Sean McVay versus Vic Fangio? Now, a couple of years ago, I believe in 2019, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, and Kyle Shanahan were asked, who's the hardest defensive coordinator in the NFL to go up against? And their answer for 3 of the brightest young offensive minds in the game was Vic Fangio. You pumped?
Yeah, definitely. And really, that's been the part of this defense. I tend to be a players guy, right? Players win games, players lose games. But Vic Fangio has been such a difference to this defense. He's changed this dramatically. I think, and I said this on the show with you guys 2 weeks ago, or maybe last week, that there was so much attention paid to his scheme. But I think from a week to week perspective, his game plans are especially on point. And they were prepared for Jaden Daniels last week, right? They were prepared for Joe Burrow. They do a good job on a week to week basis, and I think they're going to be. Now, this is a tough matchup, right? These wide receivers are back healthy. When I say these wide receivers, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and that changes things quite a bit. And then you have those two. You have Kyron Williams in the backfield, Matthew Stafford. Like it doesn't take me far to walk in that locker room to hear praise from Matthew Stafford. So I am excited to see Vic Fangio against Sean McVay, the Rams offense. I think it is going to be compelling. It is going to be intriguing. And I think this is part of why Vic Fangio's here.
ZB, I saw that Sirianni in his press conference today, he was pretty complimentary of Jordan Davis. And I feel like that's somebody we have not talked about a ton this year. But in thinking back to last year, probably a month later when the defense kind of fell apart, there were a lot of questions about Jordan Davis, right? I think there were some reports about, like, is this guy even in shape? Those type of things or whatever. And Sirianni,
Yeah.
I think the gist of what he said today, and you can correct me if this is wrong, is that, like, sometimes D tackles don't get to make splash plays because they're eating up double teams and things like that. And he seemed like he was pretty happy with what Jordan Davis is giving the defense so far. I guess just from your standpoint as somebody who's around the team, who watches them very closely and rewatches the games and things like that, what have you made of Jordan Davis's season so far?
Yeah, good question. I think I think the way you explained it is right on. And by the way, for 13 years covering the team, 12 years, I watched the games live. I watched the games back on film. I watched the TV cut. I watched the All-22, and I think I know what I'm talking about. And then this year, I'm joined by Fran Duffy, and Fran sends me his notes, and I'm like, oh, all right. I don't have to do all this work. I can just see what Fran says, right? Because Fran knows Fran's right on cue, and Fran is he's spot on when he identified the way Jordan Davis is helping the run game. You are seeing the effect there. He is occupying blockers out there. Now he's not the presence in the passing game that I think was the hope when they drafted him. But I think it is reasonable to praise Jordan Davis right now. But you also brought up a good point about the way last season went. And I think for Jordan Davis, for Jalen Carter, who played 100% of the snaps last week, for Josh Sweat, who tailed off last season, this could be a big question. These guys have played well through 10 games. Let's see what they look like during the final 7 games, and then potentially 2, 3, 4 more thereafter.
I saw you tweet out earlier the quote about Vic Fangio talking about Jalen Carter paying 100% of the snaps. Seemed like kind of old school football guy where he was just like, what's the difference between 90 and 100? He can do it. What do you make of that? Are we going to see, was that just a circumstance of the game, or do you think there's a scenario where we see Jalen Carter just not leave the field at all?
Yeah, I think that when I say we, the media, fans, might pay more attention to percentages than the Eagles do. I think they're paying more attention. Yeah, no, I think they're paying attention to numbers, to like the volume of snaps relative to the percentage of snaps,
Gotcha.
right? And so I think they go into the game saying, all right, he's going to play X snaps plus or minus 5, let's say, right? And then it just so happens if there are fewer defensive plays in that game, then he would, then you can hit it. I could say I've never seen a defensive lineman play 100% of the snaps, or the defensive tackle play 100% of the snaps in my time covering the team. I've seen Fletcher Cox have games where it's like 80 something, and you're like, wow, how's he doing it? I was really impressed. And not just that, Jalen Carter was playing high level snaps, right? He was busting up the line. He was doing great out there. So I don't expect to see him play 100% of the snaps every week, but I do expect him to see this type of volume. And this is something I'll give credit to Bo Wolf. Bo's awesome. He was on top of this right away, knowing Vic Fangio's history. You just look at the way Christian Wilkins played last year in Miami. Vic Fangio doesn't rotate the same rate that the Eagles have in past years, and you're seeing that right now with Jalen Carter.
Yeah, you are. I don't really have any other football questions, Zach. I do have a question about Los Angeles. How do you view that as a
Okay.
road city? Like, where are your spots before covering a game there?
Yeah.
I know it hasn't been the entire time you've been on the beat, but sure they've been out there a few times playing multiple teams, multiple.
Yeah.
I remember the game in 2017. It was a Super Bowl year when they played in that little small soccer stadium in I don't know, somewhere in
Carson,
LA.
California.
Yeah, they played.
Yeah,
at
Carson, California. Good job. Yeah.
the Chargers.
The
Anyway,
Chargers.
LA thoughts. Give it to us.
Yeah. So, by the way, quick anecdote about that game there. Nick Sirianni was coaching the wide receivers for the Chargers at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was out to dinner with his wife the night before the game, and the restaurant he was at was like overtaken by Eagles fans. And Nick had not seen anything like that to that point. So that was Nick's introduction to the way Eagles fans travel. I love LA. I love going out there. It's a cool city. There's so many different pockets that you can go to. You know, as you know, whether you can go up north to Pasadena, you can go to there's in downtown LA. There's the Hollywood area. Some people might like Beverly Hills. You got Santa Monica. You got I can give you the whole. You can go inland more.
Awesome.
Manhattan Beach. Yeah, West Hollywood's a great spot. Manhattan Beach is a good spot. So I really enjoy going to LA. I'm looking forward to this trip. I need to speak very clearly and concisely here. I want to see the Intuit Dome, okay, which is the new building that the Los Angeles Clippers are playing in. I'm trying to get to see a game in the Intuit Dome when I go there. If I can get in time and I can get there, I'm eager to do that. I have some friends from high school who live out there, some friends from college who live out there, work out there. And then Sunday's game day. I'm taking the red eye back. That's the other thing. I actually like taking red eyes back because if you take the day flight the next day, it eats up your whole day. Actually, one of my big regrets from year one at PHLY was Eagles Seattle last year. I couldn't catch a red eye home. And the next day, Rich and Bo were doing the show from the Reading Terminal.
That's right.
I missed that show. Yeah. And so you're flying 6 hours. You don't land until 4:30 in the afternoon. So anyways, you take the flight overnight. It's better. I don't want to eat into Vinny's time here, but I really enjoy.
Well, he's at the
going
doctors.
to LA.
We don't even know if he's going to show up. So you're all good.
All right. Well, then I can roll. Yeah. So it's a cool destination. And Bo makes fun of me about this. Well, he makes fun of me about everything. But I really like SoFi Stadium. SoFi Stadium. It costs what, $4.5 billion to build that. Like you can see, it was money well spent. It might have been more than that. I mean, it feels like an awesome place to watch a game. The sight lines are great. It's just a cool stadium. And so looking forward to it. It'll be my second time in SoFi.
$5.5 to $6
looking
billion.
forward to that. 5.5 to 6 billion. $1 billion here, $1 billion there. It starts to add up.
Yeah,
right?
what's $1 billion?
But yeah.
Fun fact about SoFi, Zach, that I learned during the Olympics this summer, they're turning it into the world's largest pool. That is going to be the home.
Is that right?
That is going to be the home of swimming at the Olympics coming up in LA, and they're going to build a subfloor above the field and turn it into a giant swimming arena.
That's awesome. You see and how versatile it is. The translucent roof. You feel like you're outside when you're inside. And then right nearby is the Intuit Dome. And I saw the 60-minute special on this and the technology that's in that arena. It's going to be so hopefully there's no travel delays. Hopefully I can get a ticket. Shout out to our friends at Game Time. I'll be checking that app for the last minute deals. I don't even know if they're on the ad today, but I'll give them the ad because I'll get a last minute deal there. I'm really hoping. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. So I'm hoping, but it's not my first time buying it, so I'm not.
True.
So that goes, yeah. But if you're a first time user, use PHLY. So yeah. So and then good food out there. So really looking forward to LA.
So Zach, it looks like there's a nice sunshine coming in the window today. How are we looking? Can we get a little glimpse at her? Oh, look at that beauty.
Look at that. Yeah.
Love it.
And you know what? I got to say, the shades were closed when I came in. I pulled them up. I wanted to make sure that that where this is a window open or open shade podcast.
Love it. All right, last one for you,
Yeah.
Zach. The new Hall of Fame class was announced, and I'm curious about the guy they're facing this Sunday. In Zach Berman's world, is Matthew Stafford a Hall of Famer?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think statistically he is. The fact that he won a Super Bowl, yes. And then just anecdotally speaking to other players, the way look, I'm not a Hall of Fame voter. I don't think I would want to be a Hall of Fame voter. It's so subjective. I don't pay as much attention to Hall of Fames as some other reporters do. But when I think of the Hall of Fame, to me, it's like, are you one of the best players from your era? Like, can the story of your era be written without you? And I don't know if the story of this era can be written without Matthew Stafford.
All right, there he is. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. And are you on Blue Sky yet, Zach?
I am on Blue Sky. My goal is, and that's why I came to PHLY. I want to meet the audience where they are. So wherever you go, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube, fast channels, wherever it is, I will be there.
Shout out to your grandparents. Watch it on Xfinity. But yes, make sure
There
you're
you go,
following
X1.
Zach and reading all of his excellent writing on allphly.com. We appreciate it as always, Zach.
Thanks, guys.
All right, see ya. All right, he's the best, isn't he? We got a lot to get into, but let's.
We didn't even talk about all the toilets at the big arena.
Oh
he's going
yeah, I
to.
watched Steve Ballmer. He was giving a tour on CBS Sunday Morning. He was so fired up by the amount of toilets they have in the Intuit Dome.
Mm-hmm.
Very exciting stuff. I appreciate that.
By the way, he's right on. I love LA.
I love LA too.
Well, and I probably wouldn't love it if I lived there, honestly. 'Cause it seems
Absolutely.
like,
The traffic
seems like
is the worst part.
traffic, it's very spread out. But Manhattan Beach, if you're going there for a weekend covering an Eagles game, great place to
My
go.
cousin lives in Manhattan Beach, and he has a golf cart. He's a surfer. His kids are surfers. They have a surfboard rack, and they just take the golf cart down to the beach.
Yeah, it's great.
It's awesome. Let's take a brief pause to, and our friend Vinny's here on the other side. Just got to take care of some quick business first. And I'll tell you about our friends over at Bet365. You can find out why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. They have 90 million worldwide users. They stream over 780,000 events each year, and they have the best early payout offers across the NBA, NFL, NHL, and Major League Baseball. They pioneered live in-game betting, and they offer the widest range of games and markets available for over 78 sports. And right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get that $150 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. And the early payout offers, they're just the best. And make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for our custom PHLY odds boosts, because every month they are juicing the odds and giving you a chance to win with more than 10,000 boosts every single month. So download the Bet365 app, use code PHLY365 when you sign up, get that $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know wants help, you can call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And Jamie, let me tell you about our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. And while the Eagles perhaps at times have tested this idea, it is hard to win without proper coaching. But TrueMark is here to help you coach your kids. Just not in sports. You're going to have to do that elsewhere. If you've got kids, TrueMark has the ultimate playbook for teaching financial responsibility with a free Greenlight account. The Greenlight app is changing the game, helping kids and teens learn how to earn, save, and spend wisely. They can set up goals, track their spending, and even get an allowance. All right there in the Greenlight app. And here's the really cool part, Jamie. Each kid gets their own debit card so they can make purchases and learn real-world money skills, while you, the parent, stay in control from your phone. You get peace of mind, and they get the freedom to make smart decisions with their money. It's like coaching your kid through their own financial game. And for TrueMark Financial members, it is free. With the holidays right around the corner, now is the perfect time to introduce your kids to Greenlight. Get signed up today and visit TrueMark.com/Greenlight for more information.
Oh, I got to do that with the girls, no doubt about it. I think that's a tremendous way to teach the youth about financial literacy. All right, let's welcome him in. We weren't sure if he was going to be able to join us today because those damn doctor's appointments But let's welcome him in. Super Bowl champion Vinny Curry joins us now. What up, Vinny?
What's up, fellas? What's going on?
I hear you. I don't say. There he is. What's
Y'all
up,
hear me?
Vinny? Where are we?
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, I
Yep.
can hear you. Where are you, Vinny?
Y'all just got home.
Is that your weight room?
Yeah.
Let's get a little
Weight
tour
room.
here. Yeah, what do we got? Hungry dogs run faster. Love it.
Yeah, it's got a.
Oh,
Can
damn.
y'all see?
Wow.
Yeah, here we go.
Love it.
Yeah,
It's a hell of a
little bit.
jersey.
You got Noah down there doing some circuit training?
No, he's still at school.
Love it. Vinny, word association. Matthew Stafford. Go.
Monster, beast. Matthew Stafford started the no-look pass. I feel like it, man. When we used to play that Joker, man. I mean, one game specifically. I know all us Eagle players and fans want to delete this game out of our brain, but Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
he was on fire, man. And Hall of Famer, bro.
It's
is all
funny.
said
I
and
just
done for
asked
him.
Zach. I said, because the new Hall of Fame class was announced on the heels of it, I was like, I think Stafford is. You think absolutely?
Oh man, for real. And then with him, like they used to say, yo, the game is never over with him. You got to make sure you walk about 3 touchdowns with that Joker, because don't he got like the record or something for the most comeback wins in the fourth quarter? Something crazy.
I believe you're right. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, man, the dude's a phenomenal player, but I just think just the way where he was at and how the season was kind of going, he's kind of underrated.
Yeah, I would agree
You
with that,
really-
Vinny. I would also say,
So-
too, Matthew Stafford over the years, especially when he was in Detroit and it felt like he had to score 40 points to win every game a lot of the time and he was throwing the ball down the field. One of the things that stood out to me, besides just his arm talent, which is spectacular, he's a pretty tough guy, right? He's a guy who stands in the pocket and is like willing to take hits. Does that get a certain level of respect from the opposing defensive line as somebody who, like, you keep hitting him and he just keeps getting back up?
Yeah, he keep getting back up, and he'll get everybody else around him fired up.
Yeah, so Matthew Stafford is actually tied for 5th all-time on fourth quarter comebacks, Vinny. This guy, Tom Brady's number 1. He had 46 of them. Peyton Manning, number 2 with 43. And then Matt Ryan with 38. And Stafford actually tied for, Roethlisberger ahead of Matt Ryan. And then Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Johnny Unitas are the next 3 with Dan Marino and Russell Wilson. So some pretty good company.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, but the game is never over with him.
Yeah. So when you think of his head coach, Sean McVay, I used to your boy Dougie P used to bend Sean over and give him a little spanking every time they met each other. But he's considered one of these darling wonder boys of the NFL because he can recite plays. Ooh. What do you think of when you hear Sean McVay?
Oh man, I think players, coach, really understanding the game. Somebody who been around the game from a really early age on, and really understanding, the X and O's of it. Someone who put his players in great position to make plays. He obviously thought he had to go back to the Matthew Stafford thing. Sean obviously thought he had a Super Bowl contender team. Went and got Matthew Stafford, and we all see what happened. When you think about Sean McVay, you think about a competitive ass coach.
Vinny, Vic Fangio this week was on record saying he got asked about Jalen Carter's workload, and he's basically said, well, what's the difference between playing 90% of the snaps and 100% of the snaps? And I think this was something going into the year we knew. Vic Fangio's old school. He wants his star defensive lineman in particular to play a ton of snaps. I guess as somebody who, you played on teams that had a slightly different philosophy, right? I always remember Jim Schwartz talking about throwing fastballs and all those things. When a player has to play that many snaps, but also is playing well, I guess, can you talk about like the difficulty of just like staying fresh throughout a game with that sort of workload?
Absolutely. So, go back to early on when we talked about, we was watching, and like the way he, demands, the way he demands on the defensive line, and it's up to other people to make plays. So you got him on the field 90% or 100% of the percent of the time, you still have to double team him. We haven't seen somebody yet one-on-one single-handedly do anything with him.
So Vinny, back in
So
2019,
if I'm Vic
I'm sorry,
Fangio,
go
I'm
ahead.
not taking him out either.
Yeah, no, I mean
And I
he's a
come from a
force.
rotation. Yeah, and I come from the rotation, But that dude right there is a beast, bro.
Yes. So, Vinny, back in 2019, Sean McVay was asked what defensive coordinator in the NFL is the hardest to go up against. And him, Matt LaFleur, and Kyle Shanahan all said Vic Fangio. As a layperson, what is it about going up against Vic's defense that just kind of keeps an offensive coordinator or a head coach up at night?
I keep on reflecting to this season because early on we kept saying, like, "What's going on? What's this?" You can't get bored with, you can't get bored with it, because he obviously knows what he's doing. It might not be too flashy, but he gets the job done. Look at the way the defense has been playing. He gets the job done. It's like watching Carmelo Anthony play. His game is really, really different than Dwayne Wade and LeBron James or anybody else. And at the end of the night, you look up, Carmelo Anthony got 35 points. You're like, damn, yeah, 35, just very quietly, and he's setting guys up to be successful.
Vinny, I remember in 2017, it was the game where Carson got hurt, but it was like a huge matchup, and it was you guys against the Rams, and Sean McVay was kind of the talk of the league because they were not very good before he got there. They obviously had a high-powered offense. Todd Gurley was playing really well. Goff was playing well. Do you have any memories of that game? Obviously, it ended with a win and Foles taking over at the end. But do you have any memories specifically of that game? It felt like there were a ton of Eagles fans there, and that was kind of a huge win for you guys to get the number 1 seed that year.
Oh, bro, man, it's funny you say that. I was just going through, like, from last week, this week, just going through some of the videos. I got a lot of videos from that after the game that, when they gave out the shirts and everything, and just how the atmosphere was. It was like none but Eagle fans in the building. And I don't know if you remember, it was like a walk-off touchdown from defensively, and everybody went crazy, jumped in the stands. It was nasty, man. It was definitely fun, man. So yeah, that was just electric out there.
So, Vinny, one of the big news or pieces of news today is your buddy Bryce Huff has to undergo a procedure on his hand. He's basically been playing with that claw out there. For me, that has no idea what it's like to line up as a defensive lineman in the NFL. How hard is that to have your wrist basically taken away from you and to play with like a club on your hand? How difficult is that?
Oh, super difficult. There's only one person I ever seen be physically seen be successful with a claw on their hand.
JPP?
Yeah. See? One person, only one person, man, and and him being 6'6" and lean is like that, so that definitely helped him out with that one.
So what is it? Is it getting off of your stance? Is it the engaging with the lineman? Like what?
I would say engaging and getting guys off of you. Trying not to get pinned, blocked. You're gonna need both hands. Like I said, there's only one person I've seen be successful with a claw on it or a club on their hand.
So Vinny, Jalyx Hunt now gets a huge opportunity. What are your thoughts on him here going forward with some assumed increased playing time?
I'm excited for him. I got a chance to be around him a little bit, watch him work. I'm excited for him. I think his development has been coming along, very well. The way they got him developing. He around some good dudes. Great mentor within, Brandon Graham being the vet of the room. I think he's going to definitely make, put a couple smiles on us Eagle fans. And like I said, I'm very excited for him, for the opportunity.
All right, Vinny, now I have to ask you the final question here, unless, Rich, you have anything else?
No, I mean, I'm just curious on Vinny's thoughts on the game, right? The Rams, they've won 4 out of 5. I think, they're only 500 right now, but they have those 2 receivers healthy. Stafford is obviously very scary. I guess just like what are your thoughts? The Eagles are slight favorites in this game. They are coming off the mini bye after the Thursday night game. What are you expecting this weekend, Vinny?
Oh man, I would say I'm interested to see Stafford versus the secondary.
Yeah,
this is where your guy he could run away with this rookie of the year thing right here. Here we go. You're like Yeah, I'm excited, for the secondary and for the opportunity to go and rise to the occasion. And it's a night game.
Yeah. How tough is that in the hotel waiting around all day? You
You
just get
get
an
eager
extra
a little
nap and
bit.
forget about it?
Yeah, you get an extra nap. But when you hear that raw, that drilling to be running, and all that go out the window. You just rely on your preparation.
All right. So the thing I got to ask you, Vinny, I know you're a huge fan of the NBA. Joel Embiid gets called out in a closed door meeting by the young man, Tyrese Maxey. One, I'm sure it's way more common than most fans realize.
Mm-hmm.
But when
Right.
something gets leaked that quickly to the press, what does that do to a locker room?
Man, who said something? You want to know who said something? What they call it, a mole? Like who's leaking that? But I will say one thing. Most of the times I got to be around B, but I always seen with Tyrese. So they have that relationship with each other to you know kind of get on one another a little bit. I don't think it was nothing too serious.
Okay. So you expect Embiid, he's maybe back in action tonight. You think he's going to answer the bell and come out like a man possessed?
Oh man, at the end of the day, yeah. Just because, listen, let's be honest. Like when he's healthy and he going, man, he unstoppable.
Yeah, I spot no lies.
He's unstoppable, man. That dude, he got potential to, if he wanted to, he could be the MVP of the league every year if he wanted to.
And you're our MVP every game day, Vinny. Looking forward to this weekend, Sunday Night Football. You back in studio with us. You want to give us a prediction on the way out here?
Oh yeah. Last week I was almost right though.
Yeah, you
So let
were.
me
You were
see.
real
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go high scoring game. It's gonna be a high scoring game. So I'm definitely gonna go. Third.
You're in the 30s. I like it.
Yeah. I think. Okay, let's go 23. Either 23, 28, or 27.
All right.
Yeah, it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think it is. I think it's gonna be Sunday Night Football worthy.
All right. Love it. Vinny, thank you for your time as always, and we will see you on Sunday, my friend.
Man, thank you guys for having me. Can't wait to see y'all on Sunday.
Anytime. See you, Vinny.
See you, Vinny.
There he is, the great Vinny Curry, live from the weight room with the Hungry Dogs Run Faster in the background there. That's pretty awesome.
After Vinny correctly predicted that a turnover was coming on the next play on our watch along live stream, I got a nice high five from Vinny.
Yeah.
I was the first person next to him. It was solid.
Yeah.
I watched that back. You guys tweeted that out there. Yeah, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it really didn't hurt my hand too bad. He wasn't trying to. I mean, he could have hurt my hand if he wanted to, but he didn't. And it was just a nice moment. And I looked back and I was like, yeah, it was a solid high five between me and Vinny. Yeah,
it's fun watching him start to, view it from the other side. Like it was, I think the first couple of weeks, it was like, it was a weird thing for him. And now he's kind of settling in and watching it almost like the way we are. And it's a really cool thing to see. And he's the absolute best. So it's great to have him on every week. All right, Rich. We got a couple other things to get through real quick before we get out of here. Love having Vinny on, obviously. But you did say, the Rams, Matthew Stafford, their offense is kind of, when you see your charts there, the Detroit Lions are pretty much the best EPA per play offense since 2009. And then the Eagles are down there in like a Super Bowl contending category. And then the Rams are like smack dab right in the middle of the axes. And let me just wish goodbye to everybody that's been viewing on Xfinity and Roku and Samsung and Zomo, all that stuff and more. If you want to continue watching the show, head to allphly.com, or you can find us on YouTube as well. But the Rams offense, they've been missing the two stud wide receivers, which is, for on and off and staggered portions of the season. They're back. Does this offense give you worry at all, or is your Eagles' defensive confidence through the roof?
Again, we keep saying that there are going to be tests. I mean, these next 2 weeks, I know the Rams probably statistically don't add up quite as much because they haven't had those guys the entire year. that's a tough offense. And I think Vinny was kind of hitting on these points. Like Matthew Stafford scares me. The guy who can make the no-look throws. Some of the throws he makes, I looked at where he ranks in QBR. It's kind of in the teens right now. I think he's a much scarier quarterback.
Absolutely.
Some of those throws he makes in the red zone, he puts the ball literally in the smallest spot imaginable, and he does it while getting hit and from crazy arm angles. I have a lot of respect for him. I have a ton of respect for Sean McVay as well. I know you kind of...
I don't.
You were talking a little smack with him with...
no, he's a good coach. I just
Dougie
love...
P. The Eagles have done well against his
Dougie
teams.
P used to spank him, and they would never talk about Dougie P as like, he got his flowers, I guess, but it was always like, oh, Sean McVay over Doug P. And then Doug P would punch him in the mouth. And I just felt like Doug got like kind of discredited in those head-to-heads. And he handled Sean McVay. And I love that he kind of thinks Vic Fangio is the boogeyman a little bit.
Well, he was. I mean, they have a history. I mean, in Sean McVay's case, in that 2018 season, Jamie, there was a Sunday night football game late in the year. And I believe the Rams were 11-1. This is the second year of Sean McVay, I think. 11-1 heading into the game, and Vic Fangio held them to 6 points at Soldier Field. And it was actually a pretty important game, too, because, the Rams, Todd Gurley, some of those outside zone runs that they were using was just killing the league. Vic used, I think it was a 6-1 front, and that was important because the Rams made the Super Bowl that year. They probably shouldn't have made the Super Bowl. There was a pretty controversial call in New Orleans a couple weeks later, but they made the Super Bowl. And Bill Belichick shut the Rams down in that game, and he basically used the Vic Fangio blueprint in that game. So I think it's understandable that Sean McVay is like, man, that guy's pretty good. He's made me adapt over the years. By the way, Sean McVay did adapt over the years. They won a Super Bowl a couple years ago.
Yeah.
He is pretty good. You're right, though. The Eagles have had a lot of success. This is completely random, but it's on the top of my head right now, and I have to say it. There was a play in the 2018 game where Nelson Aguilar, I have never seen somebody more wide open in my life in that game. He was standing, I think, 30 yards past people. There was a screenshot I took. Foles threw him the ball. He was catching it. It looked like he was about to field a punt, basically. It was that big of a coverage bust. Hopefully we get one of those for A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith.
Yeah, that would be nice.
This week. Anyway, I think they're a pretty scary team. This is kind of going in circles right now. I think these guys are a scary team, but they're also a team that the Eagles should be able to move the ball against, be able to run the ball against. I know they have the two good rookies. I think there is a reason that the Eagles are favored in this game.
Yeah, really excited for this one. It should be a great time. We have a super chat I want to get to real quick. Hopefully it's not about phallic sizes from Santiago there. From Chase Daniel Plainview.
The CDPSC.
Rich, you
Sean Desai.
You got that?
You really
my
can't
old man eyes are.
No problem.
There we go.
Sean Desai is on the Rams staff. Revenge.
Oh,
I did not know that. Actually,
I did not know that either.
I knew that, but then I forgot.
Yeah, of course. And Brian Johnson's down in DC, and we just whooped up on his ass. So next in line, Sean Desai. Poor Sean Desai.
Oh, that's funny. It's like the revenge story. It's like the
that
meme with the Grim Reaper going through the doors. Yeah,
somebody should make that. I felt bad for Sean Desai. In all honesty.
Yeah, it wasn't his. I mean, he wasn't great, but it wasn't entirely his fault.
No, not at all. I mean, he was kind of dealt. That secondary, when you think about it, I was telling Zach this on Monday night. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean changed so much. And granted, Eli Rogers wasn't available last year. But, James Bradbury, screwed everything up. Because he was just cooked. And then you have a guy like Reed Blankenship who has to probably cover for more of him, taking him out of his passing lanes and ability to make plays. It's almost like that spot in the baseball order where, in my opinion, the Phillies are missing that 4-hole hitter that lets everybody else naturally fall into their spots. And James Bradbury last year didn't let people fall into their slots because you had to worry about, kind of covering for them. So, it's amazing what Quinyon, and we started with Quinyon, we're back to Quinyon. But amazing what those two did to let everybody just kind of be more natural. You know what I mean? Linebackers included. So that's great.
Bradbury going from great to cooked last year was a big issue. One other thing, too, Desai obviously had some bad performances, not unlike Matt Patricia, who had all bad performances. One of his better performances was against the Rams last year. They played really well in the second half of that game, the Eagles defense.
Matt Patricia, my God. Yeah. What a disastrous decision that was.
Yes, it was.
All right, I just wanted to, before we get out of here, take a look real quick because the Eagles and Lions, Rich, I think they've separated themselves as the clear two best teams in the NFC. I think the Eagles are in the 1B tier, right there below. I think the Lions are the best. When you look at their offense, it's just, I think Shield put out a stat the other day. Based on EPA per drive, the Lions' offensive performance last weekend was the best of any team in the last 10 regular seasons. Touchdown drives of 60-plus yards on their first 7 possessions. Then a field goal, then the end of the game. 38 first downs, tied for the most in 10 years. 645 yards, the second most in the last 10 years. They are ahead of the Eagles. But I don't discredit the Eagles in this matchup. So real quick, I just wanted to buzz through their schedules to see how likely could a 1 seed be here. All right, the Eagles remaining, and you're going to be my WL guy. So I'm going to throw the game to you. You chalk it up to a WRL, and we'll see if the Eagles can catch the Lions for the 1 seed. Because I do think Jared Goff coming to the Link versus being at Ford Field
That's a huge difference.
is a huge difference. So the Eagles at Rams.
W.
At Ravens.
L. Those 2 games are going to be LW in one way.
I agree with you. Panthers.
W.
This is a really, maybe one we didn't think in the beginning of the year was going to be a hard-fought, awesome game, but the Steelers.
W. Russ
at the Link.
Russ not going to score enough points in that game.
All right. At the Commanders.
I'm going to say W.
Cowboys. You poor bastards. You guys suck. Rich is going to say W.
W.
New York Giants and Tommy Cutlets.
How about Tommy Cutlets versus Cooper Rush on Thanksgiving, by the way?
That's so bad.
Also,
It's a good excuse to spend more time with family, Rich.
it looks like they're benching Daniel Jones and they're passing over Drew Lock because they have some sort of playing time incentives.
That is not going over well in the locker room. Have you seen some of these quotes?
It's not classy. I mean,
No, it's bad.
what happened to my classy New York Giants with Mr. Mara? Enough.
So you have the Eagles going 6-1 in the final. All right, so real quick on the Giants, let's laugh at them real quick. Jordan Schultz yesterday put this out. Sources, there is disappointment among the Giants players regarding how the Daniel Jones situation was handled over the past week, especially with players aware it was primarily due to financial decisions by the organization. Dexter Lawrence publicly stated on Tuesday, he's the QB1. To me, he's the best quarterback on the team. Very funny in itself.
So I was making fun of Mr. Mara and the organization there. I got to say, Dexter Lawrence, you are an amazing player. Standing up for Daniel Jones saying, doing the TO, that's my quarterback. You can't do that.
No,
Daniel
you
Jones
can't.
stinks.
He
And
is such ass.
He's had more opportunity for a bad quarterback with one team than I think I've ever seen. Jamie, he's played 70 games with the Giants. Like, there's just nobody who has been that bad
for that long
and just has continued to stay as the quarterback. It just doesn't happen as much anymore.
You're going to, like, 10 years from now, you're going to look back one day and be like, Daniel Jones started for 6 seasons?
Yeah.
And made $108 million?
Crazy.
What the hell is John Mara thinking? Anyway, one offensive player told me over the phone, we're not idiots. They did it because of money. So be it. But Daniel has been all class, never complained, and now being completely disregarded. The team record is bad. You can point fingers everywhere. But to try and blame him is trash. And making him third string is weak as F. The sense I've gotten from multiple sources, players, coaches, and executives is that the issues within the organization go far beyond just one person.
Well, I mean, hitting him where it hurts, bringing up the class too, is a very good touch. Yeah, look, they stink. That's going to be a W.
Yeah. So you have 6-1. The Eagles finishing 6-1. The only L coming either versus the Rams or the Ravens in these next 2 weeks, which I think is, look, 3 of those games are layups. The Eagles could win with their eyes closed. All right, now let's go.
Well, and I think to the point about the Giants, maybe the Eagles hand them a win in the last week because maybe Detroit is just run away with it.
Maybe. All right, so the Detroit. Now this is a tough schedule. The Eagles go 6-1 in Rich Hoffman's world. Now the Lions are at the Colts this weekend.
W.
Bears at home.
W.
Packers at home.
See, that's the thing. Their hard games are at home now. They've
I know.
won the 2 NFC North games on the road that are difficult at Vikings, at Packers. That's a win, I think. I mean, it's funny. On Thanksgiving last year, that was Jordan Love's kind of coming out party where they were pretty big dogs, and he just threw over that Lions defense. I don't think that's going to happen this year.
All right, then they get the Bills again at home. crooked schedule makers.
That's the one you would want, right? That's the one you think that the Bills could get them. Nah, they're not going to beat them.
No. Oh, wow.
I think the Lions are going to be the 1 seed, Jamie.
I do too.
Watching this season play out, man, I miss the 6-team playoff field because to me, the Eagles are playing football that is worthy of a first-round bye. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be tough to catch these guys. Look, I've been for the 7-team field in past years. 2 years ago when the Eagles, I don't think they clinched until that last week against the Giants, some of those Minshew games at the end. But they had their sights set on the number 1 seed the entire year. I was all for it then. All right, only team with the first-round bye. Now I want to get that 6-team field back.
All right, so the final 3 at Bears. W.
I think so, but
Divisional games, they can be weird.
In fairness, that could be a tough one just because Goff has to play outside, and he has not played outside that much at all this year.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like legitimately cold and all those things. So
Next one at 49ers.
Again, could lose, but that team is a mess. So I'll say loss. Let's say the loss.
Okay.
And
And then the
getting it
final
done.
game of the year at home versus the Vikings and Brian Flores' defense.
See, that's a win. And I think they have a lot of their difficult games.
I know, it really is. Packers, Bills back to back. Normally you go that, okay, a good team's going to go 1-1 in that situation. And they're both at home.
So
It's a shame.
Daniz he's already gotten in the weeds on the tiebreaker scenarios. And I cannot go too deep on that because it hurt my head looking at it because there are just so many. That's why Daniz is the best. There are so many permutations.
He lives in the weeds.
But look, basically the Eagles cannot lose to the Rams this week for tiebreaker purposes because the Lions have already beat them. So look, and the Lions, I know it seems like they have a tough schedule. They have an easier schedule than the Eagles record-wise the rest of the year. So I looked at the playoff probabilities, Jamie, ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few other sites that I saw. The Eagles, the Lions right now are somewhere between, it says 65 and 70-ish% to get the number 1 seed. So that's not, 3 out of 10 times, right? That could happen.
I think that seems about right.
And the Eagles are obviously the most common team that could usurp them in that spot. They're around 15 to 20%. And I think that's about right.
Yeah, we really need some of their divisional opponents to kind of catch them off guard a little bit, maybe in a look-ahead situation. The Bears are really bad, really, really bad, so I don't think it's going to be them.
And they just find ways to lose games, too, even when they play a pretty competent brand of football. Look, I guess the hope would just be Goff in the cold, right? He's had pretty nice conditions all year. Is Green Bay the only outside game he's played so far? And that was kind of more of an early season one. Just hope he kind of reverts into Jared Goff and he what did he throw? 5 picks against Houston?
Yeah, and they still found a way.
That's remarkable because, man, Jared Goff and that offense, you already mentioned it with that Jaguars game. Bo always gets on me. Is it Jaguars or Jaguars? Jacksonville.
What's your go-to?
Jaguars.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, the Jacksonville game. 7 touchdowns. Dougie P probably saw that 2017 Eagles team in that Lions team because they are just hammering bad teams when they go to Ford Field. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, our man Dougie P is probably. I think he's asking for the axe at this point. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's just not a winning situation. You never want to be there.
I can't believe he's still there.
I know. It's kind of like, what are they waiting for? Just put the man out of his misery.
I felt so bad after all the, are they trying to get back at all the reports this weekend that if they had a bad performance in Detroit, that he was probably going to get fired? Well, they had a bad performance in Detroit.
Yeah.
And he is still there at the press conference on Monday.
Unbelievable.
Poor Doug.
Forever loved in this town, though. Beers on us, Doug. All right, that's going to do it for us here today.
Wait, I have an update. I have an update. So I thought I was wrong about the Jackass thing. And I found it. It was from 2022. So there is a recent Jackass Forever movie. Because I was going to have to go back and be like, wait, I think I was wrong. But
I feel like I need to see this out and see if it's okay. Now, Bam is out of the series, right?
Yeah, Bam is not. Yeah, he's in and out of rehab.
He's
and
not
stuff.
doing well. Wish him the best. Brought me a lot of laughs in life.
Yeah.
Sure.
But like,
not ZB's type of humor.
Definitely not.
can we do a viewing sometime with Zach, like in studio,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
force him, like eyes wide shut, to
Yeah.
watch Jackass sometime and just like see it? This is the type of humor I think it's impossible not to laugh at.
Oh, I think ZB is looking for the more the highbrow stuff. I remember there's one scene, I think it's in the second movie, where they pretend that they're throwing cards at a guy, and the seat is shocking them. And I believe it's a wee man says, there's a card throwing machine. And he doesn't just realize that he's getting shot. And everybody else is in on the joke and laughing at him. Anyway, these guys have given me a lot of laughs.
So many laughs.
Had to share that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the update. That's tremendous stuff. To everybody in here that hung out with us today, we love you. We appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out of here. It's a blast doing this show every Wednesday with Rich. And thanks to everybody that joins us for the ride. And thanks to Vinny Curry, Zach Berman, and of course, Julia behind the scenes producing today's show. For Rich Hoffman, I'm Jamie Lynch. We will see you next Wednesday, hopefully discussing and breaking down.
Another win.
Yeah, 7 in a row. Let's get her done. All right, we'll see you next week.
We all silly like the mayor.